Okay, I will start the broadcast right now. Welcome everyone joining. We'll be starting in a few minutes to allow everyone to log in. So let's wait just a few more minutes before we start. Thank you. People are still joining, so let's wait a minute or so. I can still see people connecting, so let's wait a few more seconds, please. Okay, hi everyone, and welcome to the September Tech Talks, which runs every second Wednesday of the month. These are interactive technical webinars that gives you insight to Linux and virtualization products. Your lines will be muted, but you can answer your questions in the Q&A button during the whole event. This session will be recorded, and having said that, I'll hand over to our speakers. David, over to you.
Thank you, Fabrizio. Good morning, everyone. I'm David Gilpin, Principal Product Manager with the Oracle Linux and Virtualization team.
And hi, I'm Phil Morano, a Principal Consultant and Professional Services Team Member of the Oracle Linux and Virtualization Business Unit. In our presentation today, for expedience, I have pre-recorded a video demonstrating a switch from CentOS to OL, and I will be monitoring the Q&A during the broadcast, and we look forward to your questions.
Thank you, Phil. So here's our agenda today. We've already finished our introductions. We're going to briefly discuss switching from CentOS or RHEL to Oracle Linux. And as Phil mentioned, we'll have a pre-recorded demo, and there'll be plenty of time for questions and answers at the end. But first, let's have a little poll. So which Linux distributions are you using? So Fabrizio, we put up that poll. You can put up multiple choices. Just curious, which of these Linux distributions are you using? So I'll give you a few seconds to place your answers. Reminder that hosts and panelists can't vote. All right, let's see those results. Okay, interesting. So a lot of people using RHEL, quite a few using Oracle Linux, and quite a bit of CentOS. So interesting. That falls in line with the surveys taken in other sessions. So that's very interesting. So you should be getting some pretty good information with the results of this this particular presentation. So moving on, One thing we want to make sure that everybody hears is that Oracle can support your current RHEL or CentOS environment without requiring you to switch anything. You don't need to switch any binaries to get support from us. We will support your current CentOS or RHEL instances in place, allowing you to get all the features that come with Oracle Linux support. So some of those things include support, being able to get technical help, patch management, virtualization, our innovative K-Splice, zero downtime patching technology, even the Oracle Cloud Native tools. So now, even though we don't require you to change anything, your current support vendor might require you to change your binaries, and we'll talk more about that a little bit later. So let's just talk a little bit first about CentOS. CentOS, because of what's going on with CentOS, moving more to CentOS streams, as an upstream of RHEL, it's really not going to be the RHEL clone that we've grown to know and understand before. Maybe that means you have to move. If you wanted to free Linux, you would want to move to Fedora, but Fedora has a couple of releases a year, so there's a lot of churn in having to keep up with that. Perhaps you want a compatible distribution, but you want to stay current with patches. Maybe you have some production workloads running on CentOS, but you really want them to be running on a supported distribution because of application software. Perhaps you now need a 7x24x365 supported environment. And maybe you want to be able to better manage your patching using something like Spacewalk. With Oracle Linux support, you can choose between Spacewalk or Oracle Enterprise Manager. You could use both if you'd like for patching and management. And of course, our very popular Oracle Linux Premier support offering includes K-Splice, zero downtime updates, which covers the Linux kernel, KVM, our overt burst Oracle Linux Virtualization Manager, and the important libraries OpenSSL and glibc. So you can absolutely get CentOS covered with Oracle Linux support if desired. And switching from CentOS and using Oracle Linux is very easy. In fact, it's not even a 5-step process. It's just a 2-step process. We have a little script on our linux.oracle.com public website. You can download that script, run that script, and it will switch and start pulling patches from Oracle. Now, the CentOS switching script is it's really designed for simple implementations. It is being enhanced to cover more complex CentOS configurations. All right, so moving on. Now the real discussion here is why switch from RHEL to Oracle Linux? Well, Red Hat does have some contractual limitations, a bit of lock-in. They have a very long list of product numbers, SKUs, if you will, stock keeping units. It's a very complex situation because they charge for a lot of tools. Oracle Linux is just support. So it's a very simple purchase because it's a very short number of SKUs. We even give you the ability to mix different support levels if you'd like. For example, you could have your production systems on Premier so that you could get access to things like K-Splice, and perhaps you've got a sandbox or a test dev environment, and our basic support, which is still 7x24x365, maybe that is adequate for your needs. Maybe you even have another sandbox environment. You just want simple patches. You don't want support at all, and that's completely fine. So Oracle Linux gives you binary compatible with RHEL. It's free to download, free to use. The distribution's free to download, free to use. We have the latest patches always available for free. And then with support, you can choose, again, levels of support that you need. And we provide a lot of value added features to our support offerings. So let's talk a little bit about the 5 steps. Now, Phil is going to cover, he's going to expand on these 5 steps in the demo, but overall, it's really a sort of a 5-bubble process. High level, the first step is to remove the existing subscription management wherever the current environment is pulling subscriptions from. Then the next sort of step is removing the updater RPMs, because other distributions tend to want to phone home, go a certain area, some place to get their updates. Need to uninstall those, remove those. And then step 3 is installing the Oracle variants of that so that it knows where to go to get patches. Step 4 is to swap the identifier packages so that the distribution says, hey, I'm Oracle Linux now. And then 5 is the distro sync to replace the other signed binaries with the Oracle equivalents. So again, Phil is going to go through this in more detail, really expand on these 5 steps. And so in the following demo, Phil Morano, my associate, will demonstrate switching OS binaries to their Oracle Linux equivalents. Now, we're using CentOS as the demo, but the procedure we're using RHEL is nearly identical. As a reminder, we don't require you to do this. You don't have to switch any binaries to receive Oracle Linux support, but some other support providers may strongly suggest that you get rid of their signed binaries, which is kind of crazy since it's open source software, but that's okay. This is the whole purpose for this exercise, is to show the procedure of being able to do this. In this about 10-minute pre-recorded demo, Phil will show switching out the CentOS signed packages to the Oracle Linux equivalent ones without reinstalling the operating system.
Hello, I am Phil Morano from the Oracle Linux Consulting team. Today, I would like to show you a switch from CentOS to Oracle Linux. A similar method can be used with Red Hat. Oracle will support Red Hat as well as CentOS systems in place. That said, Oracle does offer professional service assistance to those who feel compelled to change. So to that end, I will show you just how easy it is to switch this CentOS 7.7 box to Oracle Linux 7.8, which is the most recent at the time of this exercise. Let me go ahead and log in. To accomplish this, we will need 2 files. The first is the RPM GPG key for OL7, and second, a repo file which points to an Oracle Linux 7 repository. We can pull these from Oracle's public YUM. Let's get the RPM GPG key first. And pull it down. And let's make sure we have a properly formatted key. Yep, very good. Okay, let's go ahead and import this key into the RPM database key ring. We should see an identifier that starts with EC55. We can check that. Very good. Okay, we are done here. Next, we need that repository file. Oracle provides a populated repository file on the public YUM. Let's go to the repos directory. Let me point out there's a number of CentOS repositories here. We'll deal with those momentarily. Let's go ahead and pull down the Oracle public YUM repository. Let's also look at this file here. Notice that Oracle Linux 7 latest is enabled. So when we have done altering the identity and packages on the system, we'll have the most up-to-date Oracle Linux 7 machine, which I said was a 7.8 at the time of this exercise. Now we're ready to begin the switch. In general, a switch is done in at least 3 steps. First, the registration RPMs for use with credentialed repositories. Next comes system identity RPMs, and lastly, the remaining packages. The order is important to permit updater actions, maintain RPM database dependency logic, and lastly, to ensure no impediments to switching the remaining packages. This is a minimal install system. A more complex system would require a few more steps, but for our purposes, we're going to be working with this minimal install. This system has no credentialed registration packages, so we can skip that step. However, it does have identity packages. Let's look at those. It has two. The CentOS release RPM here is the principal identity package. The CentOS logos, they're subsequent. Now, normally on a machine, I would use a safer way of removing the CentOS release, but for our purposes in this demonstration, I'm just going to go ahead and take a more expedited route. We have now removed essentially the identity of this machine, and we've also, by the way, I should point out, removed the CentOS repositories. Now let's go ahead and populate the identity of this machine with Oracle. Okay, now we can validate that this box's identity has been changed by looking at the system release file. Notice it says Oracle Linux Server Release 7.8. Where does it get into that information? Notice that it's pointing to the Oracle release. So for now, I've essentially changed the identity of the box, but it's still a CentOS box. Now let's go ahead and remove the CentOS logos. Now there is one more RPM that CentOS uses that Oracle does not. It's a plugin to Yum. Again, normally you would use a safer way of removing it, but for our purposes here, I'll expedite that. Okay, at this point we have made it so this box can attain packages from Oracle. Additionally, although principally CentOS, we have made it so the system reports its identity as Oracle Linux. Now for the remaining packages. We'll do this in two steps. First, we will upgrade or downgrade packages to the repository that we're pointing in at, which is the Oracle latest. To accomplish this, we'll use distro sync. Now I'm going to speed this up so that we don't have to watch paint dry. Okay, so that was a distro sync. As I said, this is a very simple system, so it probably captured the majority of the packages, but there are always dependencies and other unforeseen things which may prevent a complete conversion. So let's see if there's any additional packages. And let's look for just a CentOS one. And let's remove the extraneous information. And let's see how many we've got. Looks like we've got about 141 that did not convert for various reasons, but we can now take care of those. Just to make sure that we've only captured the name of these RPMs. Let's look at the first one. Okay. Now to swap these, let's use reinstall. And again, so we don't have to watch paint dry, I will speed up this section. Okay. I did notice during the swapping of some of these packages, due to the order and the system itself, the nature of the system, some of the services didn't restart. Our PS folks would deal with this in a different way, but a shorthand, you can just restart services easily. Okay. Now, it's possible that there may be some residual packages. I suspect there's at least one. I saw the kernel. Let's go back and look and see if we got any packages remaining. Just one, and I suspect that would be the kernel. Yep. Again, there are ways to deal with the effective kernel, but for our purposes here in the exercise, it's out of scope. I'll just leave that kernel as it is. We have essentially altered this system from CentOS to Oracle Linux. Okay, we're now at a point where we can reboot this box. And when we do, you'll notice that it'll say Oracle Linux Server 7.8. It'll say it both at the reboot line and in the banner at the bottom. It'll be running the Red Hat compatible kernel. Let's go ahead and restart the system. Notice it says Oracle Linux Server 7.8. And at the banner at the bottom, it says Oracle Linux Server 7.8. So this is how you switch from, in this case, CentOS to Oracle Linux.
Okay, great. That was a nice demo, Phil. Appreciate that. So we can see that switching to Oracle Linux is easy. There's some steps involved, but we know sometimes, folks, you need a little extra help. So we have a professional services team that's ready to assist. They can help your IT staff with planning the transition strategy so they can be successful. They can also help them implementing things like our management tools, Spacewalk, or our zero downtime case-wise update service. Since Oracle Linux also includes KVM, virtualization, and overt-based Oracle Linux virtualization management at no additional cost, our PS team can also assist with the architecture and implementation for that feature. And for those that need even more help, we do offer TAM, Technical Account Manager services as well. All right, it's time for another poll. So what percentage of your Linux instances, all different types, are either currently running or moving to a cloud, any cloud, and this is a one choice. So what percentage of your Linux instances are either currently running or moving to a cloud? And again, hosts and panelists can't vote. And so we'll let you make a selection. Give you a few seconds here. And all right, let's see those results. And so interesting, so 0 to 20%, so that's a little lower than some of the others. So at least a few of you are looking at moving to the cloud. This is pretty much in line. We've seen that vary, but okay, very interesting. All right, so now we have the most popular part of our session. It's the Q&A session. So your lines are still muted, but you can put your questions and answers. I know that Phil's been busy in the background answering some questions. Our team is also helping. Phil, what kind of Q&A do we have?
Well, our first question is, if I switch to Oracle Linux, what are the support options? Dave, if you could take that.
All right. So if you're switching to Oracle Linux, we offer a couple of different levels of support. We have a basic support, which is not very basic. It's a very good level of support. A 7x24 by 365, unlimited number of incidents, gives you access to our support site, gives you access to a bunch of value-added channels on our channel site. So it's a great option. Gives you also support for things like Spacewalk and Enterprise Manager. For those that want even more support goodness, we offer our Premier support offering, and that adds value-added features such as the K-Splice, zero downtime updates, our Oracle Linux Cloud Native environment, and a bunch of other features. You can always see details on what are in each of those options in our site, oracle.com/Linux, and there's a tab there where you can see it.
So we have another question. How can I talk with someone about this? That's pretty easy. If you put your contact information in the Q&A, we will contact you directly, or you can reach out to us at oracle.com/Linux.
There's also a chat feature there in case you want to chat with someone. We can respond to that chat as well.
Indeed. Another question here we have is, can you please send this lab, I'm suspecting you mean the demo, to us by email, or put the link here. Yes, everyone who attends this webinar will receive access to the link of the webcast, and for your reference. So, do I have to use Oracle Professional Services for the switch? Dave, can you take that one?
No, you don't have to use Oracle Professional Services. You can do it yourself if you'd like. We just offer our professional services in case you need a little extra nudge. Now, we don't necessarily do it for you. We will help your team be successful. And the other part of the goodness in our PS is we will also do some knowledge transfer. So that's an important part of this is the knowledge transfer to help your staff be more successful. But no, you can do it yourself if you'd like.
And let's see, do we have any more questions here? A question came in. Could you please show us again the information about the advantages of Oracle Linux against Red Hat service? I think what they're referring to, David, is just a comparison of what you get with basic Red Hat and what you get with Oracle Linux support. Would you take that one?
Well, yeah, I mean, that really harkens back on support-wise is comparing what they offer, which that's probably easily available online, against what our Premier and basic offerings are. I covered the high points, but again, the main difference on our end is our Premier offering offers additional support for things like K-Splice and our cloud native environment tools. Probably the best place to answer that would be to see, again, oracle.com/Linux. There is a list of all of the things that come in those different support levels there.
Yep. Thank you all for your questions. Unfortunately, we are out of time, and I will pass it back to you, David.
Okay, thank you, Phil, and thanks to the team in the background for all of your help in answering the many questions that we had today. So, Fabricio, I will pass it back to you.
Okay, thank you, David, and thank you everyone for attending our webinar, and thanks to our speakers, David and Phil, for insightful content. We look forward to seeing you in our next Oracle Linux State of the Penguin, and we will have 2 sessions, one for North American and LED session, which will be on October 14 at AM Pacific time, and a second session for EMEA, which will be on October 15 at 10 AM UK time. And please stay connected with us to hear more upcoming events for Linux and virtualization. And again, thank you very much for staying here with us today. And I wish you all a great day. Thank you and see you all.